And if you could tell me your name and the plane that you flew.
Okay, Michael John Steger. All the planes I flew?
Yeah, let's have the background of all the planes you flew.
Okay,
Just
well, I
lay
started
them
off in a training command flying the T6, and then when I finally got my wings, I was assigned to a squadron in Germany flying F-84s. I also got to fly the F-86 a little bit just before I left because we transitioned to 86s from 84s. I came back to the training command, and there I flew the T-28 for a little bit, and then mostly the T-33. At that point, that was, let's see, how long ago was that? In the 60s sometime, or early 60s. I decided I better watch it and be careful about flying. So I went to graduate school, got a degree in mathematics, and I taught at the Air Force Academy for 5 years, mostly calculus. While I was there, that was now in the middle 60s, I started to hear about the Vietnam War, and I thought, gee, that's something I ought to do. I really should do that. So I volunteered to go over as an advisor. At that time, they had T-28s, and that's what I thought I was going to be flying. However, they switched to A-1s. And so I went through training at the A-1 at Corpus Christi, and then went over as an advisor to for the Vietnamese.
Which model A1 were you flying?
Both the A1E and A1, the two-place chubby.
The fat face.
Yeah, the fat one. When I got there, the squadron was just a detachment. It wasn't a squadron yet. And down at Nha Trang, and I was down there one day. I came to work, and they said, "We now a new squadron." Well, they only had 6 pilots. I thought, "What the heck? How can you be a squadron with just 6 pilots?" And so we started to build up the squadron strength by getting new pilots right out of flying school. We got 20. And it was interesting because 2 of those guys were outstanding right away. And 2 should not, in my opinion, should not even graduate from flying school. But the rest were in between. We had a bell-shaped curve, which is the same thing I experienced in the Air Force with people coming into squadrons. You have a bell-shaped curve. Some are really good, some are crappy. Bad.
What was the squadron number and detachment that was formed for them?
520.
The 520th.
The 520th VNAF Squadron, yeah. At the train.
They had some very good pilots come out of there even later in the war, did they not?
Yes. When I first got there, the experience, there were 2 guys that were really experienced, 3 of them that were very experienced. And had a lot of combat time. One of them had like 3,000 hours of combat time. And when I met him and some of the others after the war down at Pendleton, where they got into camp there, he had 9,000 hours of combat time. 9,000 hours, unbelievable.
Now, an average pilot, a U.S. pilot, would have roughly how many hours in the A1?
Well, I think I'm pretty average. I had 4,500 hours of flying time, about 900 combat and about 450 missions. But that was in 1 year. Their philosophy was that they were going to be flying, they loved flying just like we did until they got killed. One by one, those experienced guys were getting picked off. But it was a slow process because they were so good.
Was Pham Swan in your, I think he was in the 520th, wasn't he, Pham Swan? A little later on, he's a Vietnamese pilot. He pulled, he flew for like 6 years.
There was a squadron named Pham Von Pham, that was a real good friend of mine. I still correspond with him. That was in there, in that squadron. He was one of the experienced guys, and so was another guy named Locke, L-A-C, but he has passed away since then.
So, how many years total flying do you have, and did you go anywhere past the A1, or was that the end of your career?
No, I flew after that. but was only proficiency flying. I was in the Pentagon, we'd fly on weekends and so on like that to get some flying time in. I flew for 22 years. And
What
then
did you-
they said, we can't fly anymore.
What did you retire at? What was your rank? Do you guys want to take a break? Do you need to step out?
Yeah, I think I'll take him back.
We'll be out in just a few minutes. I'm sorry it's so warm in here, big fella.
You stay out there.
There you go. It's much cooler out there. We'll be out in a little bit. Oh, I understand.
It's horrible.
That's all right.
Yeah, that too.
And we can add it. It's no big deal. So,
I was a major when I went over to Vietnam, but when I came back from Vietnam in the Pentagon, I was promoted to lieutenant colonel and then made colonel a few years later.
what did you do in the
Yeah.
Pentagon?
In the Pentagon, I was in a group called Studies and Analysis. We studied things and we analyzed them. Actually, we got involved with a large inter-theater transportation project. And it's quite a long story, but that was what it involved.
Okay. Now,